Looking at so many of you representing different phases of relationships, it just goes to show how much we rely on one another, lean on one another, pay attention to one another, inspire one another, promote one another, and treat each other like sisters and brothers and family in an organized and fun manner. We are a business organization, but that does not mean we cannot have fun. I see Gail has occupied my seat, which is a good thing because I want to make sure that you make sure I eat. Normally during these events, the plates tend to come and go before they get to me, so thank you very much in advance. Okay, I'm looking at myself, starting with relationships, and it is dawning on me somewhat in a rewarding manner and somewhat in a quizzical manner that my own business in this organization of business owners is turning 20 years old next month. I know, wow, that's what I say too. I look back and I think, well, I didn't think I'd be working this long. I didn't think I'd be working this hard. I didn't think I'd be working this much. I didn't think I'd be working this way. I had visions as a college student of being retired by now. And clearly, I know, it is funny. Clearly, such is not the case. Also, in terms of relationships, before we go too much further, I have to mention a couple people here who are important to me. One is Michael Newton. I don't want to forget Michael. Michael, where are you? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much. Michael is an executive vice president, senior vice president with RBS Citizens, Royal Bank of Scotland, the RBS, and I'm very glad that you chose to join us today. Also, a dear friend, Angelo Jones. Angelo is a former Army medic, and he has declared war on my crutch, even though my crutch is still here. And certainly, last but not least, my mother, who has been very inspirational, and I will be forever grateful that my mother from South Carolina decided at a tender age that she didn't want to necessarily complete her life in South Carolina, and she did something I don't even know that I would do, which is get up and move to a city in which she did not know anyone, and that's why I'm here. I don't know, like I said, that I would be brave enough to do that. Looking at the vision and the mission of our organization, how many of you know the mission of NAWBO in general? How many of you pay attention to the vision and the mission of our organization? It certainly sometimes reminds me of, as an example, the Pledge of Allegiance, something we take for granted, something we know, or at least we know the gist of and we know the meaning of, but sometimes can forget how impactful it really is on our day-to-day activities and what we mean to accomplish and what we mean to each other. So I'm going to take a moment to talk about our vision and our mission, starting with reminding us all of what that is. The National Association of Women Business Owners propels women entrepreneurs into economic, social, and political spheres of power worldwide. And I think we know that. I know that I've made a point of using the economic, social, and political parameters whenever feasible and keeping that in my own mind. But our statement goes on to say we do this by strengthening the wealth creating capacity of our members and promoting economic development within the entrepreneurial community, creating innovative and effective change in the business culture, building strategic alliances, coalitions, and affiliations, and I'm happy that Gail will be helping to build our affiliations in the board to come, transforming public policy and influencing opinion makers. That's the economic, social, and political. And also, we have a commitment to diversity, which I'm equally as thankful for. So, when you look at economic, social, and political, those things affect one another, whether we tend to be cognizant of how that happens or not. For example, we can socialize with the politics of people who have the information to influence, improve, or assist in our economic situation or well-being. While we are more comfortable, and when we're more comfortable with our economic situations, then we are better at finding out more information, putting time and energy into educating ourselves and socializing with one another, and finding time and energy and money to even contribute to political campaigns. I'm happy we have a PAC, but I'm also happy that many of us choose to be socially and politically active on our own. Relationships affect us all the time. I think about my growing up. I grew up reading and loving biographies and paying a lot of attention to a lot of women. For some reason, good or bad, I was affected by the workaholism of Marie Curie and her discovery of radium. But I was also affected by Harold Washington and was happy that I had occasions to perform internships in his congressional office as well as in his mayoral office. I remember that some people used to think that interns were nuisances and pesky, and I, of course, always took that personally when a congressional chief of staff, as an example, had the audacity to say to me that he did not necessarily appreciate interns because they always needed something meaningful to do. And I had the pleasure of telling him, of course, he was supposed to be there to do something meaningful and uplifting me and uplifting my future and paying attention to my tax dollars from the district he represented was some of that meaningful that he was supposed to be doing. So we got along really well. We really did over time, but it makes me think about how happy I am to be involved with our organization, and we have concepts like Next Generation Outreach, setting examples for the young people to come. And I'm happy we have concepts and work with the Girl Scouts on something called Badge to Business, because when I think about when I was growing up, not knowing what I was going to be, not knowing how I was going to get there, perhaps inappropriately or at least slightly mistakenly, I was encouraged to get good grades, which is one thing, when I should have been encouraged to get a good education. And there is a big difference. Sometimes you can get good grades and decide, oh, well, I have an A in that class, don't need to go anymore, which affects the good education. I was also affected long ago when I heard statements from not only Harold Washington, but Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson, whom I haven't necessarily quoted or listened to at length for a long, long time, still said something, Jesse Jackson Sr., that stuck with me. He said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That is so poignant and so precise in my experience, and that, again, is why I so appreciate NAWBO. You women are affected and effective. You're energetic, you're welcoming, you're authentic, and you set examples for all of us in leadership, as well as people who should grow up, so to speak, to become NAWBO members or become NAWBO members before they consider themselves grown, experienced business owners. We extend a welcoming hand to people who want to grow their business and want to flourish economically, socially, and politically. I, at the Achievement Luncheon, asked a question. How many of you are participating in public contracts? I will ask that again. And when I say are participating, I don't even mean currently. I just want to know how many of you have ever pursued a public contract, meaning state, federal, county, city? Please raise your hands. Okay, still in my assessment, too few of us. I think that I can say a lot of things that you already know, like these are your tax dollars at work. You have an opportunity, you can get online, you can find out more about what's going on in your own backyard, and those things are very relevant. But to put them in perspective, I wanted to share a little more information with you. Mayor Emanuel has hired Accenture a while ago last year to do a better job of identifying opportunities in the citywide procurements and to help save $25 million. In saving $25 million, the way to do that is to increase competition, to find the best vendors at the best price. This means you. This is an opportunity for those of us, especially who can become minority and or women business owners, to come to a table that we typically avoid. And he's even created new initiatives like a reverse auction. How many of you are familiar with the reverse auction? Okay, and as I mentioned to Gail, I just said, well, I'm looking forward to her helping us with affiliates moving forward. One of the things that I look forward to doing moving forward is to help you learn more about, again, the public procurement opportunities that are in your own backyard. I used to think that pursuing city contracts or any government contracts was a rigged game, maybe. It depended on who you knew. It depended on all sorts of other things other than talent, and it was a lot of paperwork with little reward. Any of you ever think that? Okay, you don't have to raise your hands. But I think there is a reason that if you're not pursuing public contracts, there is a good reason, and that's a good reason that needs to be addressed. So perhaps you can tell me when I step down from here, because I'm also working diligently not only to keep you informed about those things, but to address those reasons. Governor Quinn appointed me to the Business Enterprise Program for the state of Illinois, the Business Enterprise Council, and after a while on the council, I became procurement chair. Governor Quinn is someone I met when I was hosting a radio show on business issues and interviewing about 500 business owners about what they think, how are they doing, what are their challenges, what are their opportunities, and all of that also adds up to relationships. We are one, to be kind of corny, we are the world. To be kind of corny, everywhere we look, we affect one another. I was on a radio show recently talking about economic opportunities, talking about where we are as a state, talking about where we are as a city, talking about we need to do a better job in so many areas, including pension reform. And the host who invited me to talk about women business owners and NAWBO. But we started talking about so many other issues that we got a little off track, but in a good way. I even commented, Tyrone, I think that was the name I used. Tyrone can't read. In the midst of everything that we're doing and everything that we're saying, we still have people who are undereducated, and we now don't put enough money into that rising tide shall lift all boats philosophy to help our neighbors, male, female, young, old. And as broad as that may seem, I see our organization as impactful there too. How many of us really give a lot of thought to who's looking at us, to who we're influencing? I know we think about who influences us, but do we really look in the mirror as we're talking about reflections of relationships and consider who's watching us? Who wants to be like us? Who wants to work with us? Who wants to help us? Or do we go day to day maintaining whatever our status quo may be, and not necessarily putting the effort into meeting another person. How many of you know 5 people in this room? Raise your hands. How many of you know 10 people in this room? Okay. How many of you know everyone in this room? Of course, I'm kidding. But knowing everyone in this room is still an opportunity. And one of the things you may know I like to do is encourage everyone in this room to get to know one another. We look at each other, we notice one another, we may see things we want to compliment, we may know something about each other, like what business we are in, but not necessarily know how to approach that person. And so I have tended to say, if you have nothing else to say Charisse said to say hello. And that tends to work. I have even appreciated those few times when a couple people have come up to me and said, Charisse said to say hello. Communication is so wonderful. NAWBO Chicago cannot exist without your input, without your feedback, without your enthusiasm, without your experience, without your anecdotal information, without your letting us know what your struggles are, what your triumphs are, what you want to accomplish, and how we as NAWBO Chicago can help you do that. How many of you feel as though you are taking full advantage of your NAWBO membership? How many of you know I want you to feel guilty by the end of this speech? One of the things that we've been able to accomplish in this year is hire a new executive director. How many of you know Melissa Legowski? Yay, okay. I appreciate working with Melissa and her firm, Big Buzz Idea Group. She and they are a breath of fresh air, and she and they are readily accessible to hear the feedback, to hear the needs, to hear how we can be an even better organization. How many of you know a NAWBO Chicago board member? Okay, excluding board members, how many of you know a NAWBO Chicago board member? Okay, yay, I'm happy to hear that. And if you are a current NAWBO Chicago board member, please raise your hand. Yay, I have to give you an applause, and I encourage everyone to join me in giving applause to NAWBO Chicago board members. When you become president of our organization, you have a feel for what and whom you are going to inherit, but not necessarily how you're going to work with those people. And I am so pleased that I have had a wonderful board. This board is committed. This board is creative. I won't say the board is tireless, because sometimes we put forth so much effort. I only imagine that the board has become a little fatigued, but not so fatigued that we lose focus. One of my favorite quotes is, "Obstacles are what you see when you take your eyes off the goal." And this board never takes its eyes off the goal. I also appreciate our corporate partners. How many corporate partners are in the room? Corporate partners, thank you so much, are important. Yes, let's give them a round of applause too. Because we hear sayings that suggest, basically, until someone buys something, nothing happens. And we appreciate the support of our corporate partners, and we appreciate them by engaging them in conversation, engaging them in our activities, supporting them in their business pursuits, and sometimes when we have business solutions, even talking with them about how we may do business with them. We always think about what we can get from corporate partners, but we also need to think about what we can give to corporate partners. I like the saying, "Come to the table with more than an appetite," which of course turns me back to Gail. Gail makes sure I eat. Thank you very much. And How many of you NAWBO members are doing business with other NAWBO members? Now that is encouraging. How many of you NAWBO members use the website and the online directory of other NAWBO members? That's also encouraging. How many of you NAWBO members enjoy cold calling? Okay, and that's encouraging too. That's something you all can do, and use this as an inspiration to look down the list of members, find 1 to 5 interesting people, and just pick up the phone and introduce yourselves. That's what this organization is all about. And again, should you be stuck for an entree, Charisse said to say hello. And to tell you what I do, what my business is about, and find out whether or not either A, we may work together, or B, you may work with me, or C, again, coming to the table with more than an appetite, asking, how can I help you? How many of you have received a call recently where someone has asked out of the blue, how may I help you? That's my point. Okay. How many of you would appreciate such a call? All right, how many of you would be suspicious of such a call? You can be on the other end of that call because, again, that type of relationship is what our NAWBO membership is all about. We can, getting back to our contracts, the city and the county have blended. They have worked with the Chicago Public Schools to purchase together, to coexist their purchasing, to do strategic sourcing in a way that was estimated this year to save the city about $1 million and to save the Chicago Public Schools about $3 million, and I think that was just in the IT area so far. Imagine what can happen in terms of public procurement if we let them know that we are out here, that we can provide better services at better rates, and that we could even team to come to the public procurement table. Again, I ask, how many of you, be it public or private, have teamed with another NAWBO member to pursue or complete a contract? Do you see the opportunity there? Nod. Thank you. Because we have so much talent in this room. We have so many people who bring value to any table in our organization that I do not want to see us, and I do feel like I'm banging a dead horse, but the horse is not dead. I don't want to see us miss this opportunity. And I'm not banging a dead horse, except that this is a point that I continue to make because this is a need that I continue to see. I asked at the Achievement Luncheon, how many of you are doing business with Cook County? And I'll ask again, how many of you are doing business with Cook County? Which I think is, well, good to see, which I think is a general answer to few of us, and I already received an answer regarding the city, but somehow I think we forget about the county. The county has Shannon Andrews as a new Chief Procurement Officer, and she used to be a Deputy Chief Procurement Officer with the City of Chicago. And so the county is making strides to reach out to you, women business owners, minority business owners, and others. How many of you are even aware of the opportunities to do business with the state of Illinois? Okay. Some of you, a few of you, still too few of you. And a lot of these opportunities are on the state procurement website. The Business Enterprise Program, and I'm on, again, the Business Enterprise Program Council, makes concerted efforts to make sure that women business owners, minority business owners, disabled business owners, and now veteran business owners take advantage of the contractual opportunities available to all. and yet we don't. And the reason, again, I keep repeating this is because millions of dollars are spent, and we, as members of NAWBO Chicago, should be taking advantage of them. I am also repeating this again because trying to help us do that is what I intend to do after my presidency is over. I'm also going to chair the nominating committee, which brings me to another point. How many of you are interested in taking advantage of becoming a part of NAWBO leadership? All right, come on. This is fun. This is full of, when you become a NAWBO leader, meaning a committee chair or a board director, and I don't question the lack of hands when a lack of hands are raised, because all you can do is tentatively shrug your shoulders unless you know what that really means. But that's why I asked, how many of you know a NAWBO board member? What I would like you to do is ask that NAWBO board member, what is it like to be a NAWBO board member? Is it something as rewarding as it looks? How hard is it? How easy is it? How creative is it? How enjoyable is it? How much time does it take? These are all questions that I asked Gail when she was president, and when I was president-elect, and even as president, I wanted to know, well, how much time does it take to be a NAWBO president? How much interest is there? How much feedback is there? How much support is there? And I was overwhelmed by the answer, overwhelmed by the fact, and of course, typical questions, important and poignant questions, which she also answered, like, well, how much does it really cost to be NAWBO president? And how's your business really doing? And so I am so happy that not only have I asked the questions, I have experienced the answer. And I look forward to speaking with some of you, or many of you, moving forward about NAWBO leadership. This is a very, 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 very supportive organization. I know that women have stereotypes in terms of catfights and all sorts of other nonsense, but we also have positive stereotypes about being nurturing and supportive and helping one another and sharing information. And how many of you believe information is power? Okay. And I'd like the opportunity to stand up here and even ask you about so many of the things that are right in front of you. I know that you're probably wondering, now why is she talking about this? Because she can talk about so many other things. Or some people, and I may do that too, but not before encouraging you to check out the opportunity to become one of us. How many of you know Emily Smith? Yay, right. Emily is going to be president-elect, and that is also a wonderful position. I loved watching Emily fulfill her membership-oriented responsibilities as so selected and as so identified, because she also is representative of what this organization is really about. So if you want to figure out or find out how to even do a better job of using your membership organization, why not talk to our membership queen? And I know she's smiling, but who knows what she's thinking. But I also know she is very, very warm, very, very open, very, very committed to this organization, and she suspects, or so I hope, that she will not be overwhelmed by the inquiries that I'm encouraging you to make at this time. Last but not least, I appreciate Lori. Lori has been a good friend, an encouraging person, and just a person who's so sincere. She has a heartfelt sincerity. It is very, very, very easy to imagine Lori as the next president. I remember initial conversations with Lori about being the next president. And I'm hoping that she will have similar, and Emily, conversations with many of you, because this organization, of course, will keep going strong. But so many people have so many opinions. This is an opportunity to put your opinion in action. NAWBO is an opportunity to, again, support each other economically, socially, politically. I have even gotten to a point where I've just initialed it economically, socially, politically, ESP, when I make notes, because I know exactly what I mean. And I think that NAWBO gives us the type of insight and the strength and the wherewithal to support one another. Now, how many of you are inspired next week to call another NAWBO member, to introduce yourself, to do business with another NAWBO member? It's kind of like taking advantage of your tax dollars, the same way I'm encouraging you to get involved in public procurement. And if you're not, of course I ask, why not? And I encourage you to ask yourself, why not? We have in this room and we have in this organization a gold mine of opportunity, and I still think it's undermined. Not that we aren't doing well, but that we can always, 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 always do better. We see people who know our organization, know about our organization, have heard one way or another that our organization on the national level is the recognized voice of 10 million business women. We hear and know that our organization is part of a national organization, which means we can take advantage of reaching out to people across the country and not just across the room. And how many people are doing that? How many people want to do that? How many people have scoured the list of NAWBO National? How many people know you can scour the list of NAWBO National? How many people can see that one of the things I do consistently is market research? Okay. How many people would be so much better off if you expanded your horizons and looked beyond the city limits, look beyond the state limits? How many people are in business to grow? I mentioned stereotypes. Please raise your hand if you want to grow your business. One of the other stereotypes that I've heard about women business owners, not this organization, but women business owners, is that women business owners have lifestyle businesses. They just want something to do while their husbands support them, while their sons get to school, and all sorts of other things that have nothing to do with our real ambitions. But the women in this room, I already know, are ambitious, because I've spoken with many of you. I've talked with many of you about your dreams and your aspirations and the things that you want to do, and there's no reason you can't start doing them tomorrow, or at least after the holiday. I know that we're kind of winding down and people are looking forward to taking time off the 4th of July, but after the 4th of July, we will be well into the second half of the year. How many of you are satisfied with the way the first half of your year is going? Okay, I like that answer. How many of you are not satisfied with the way? I like that answer too, because if you do something different, you'll get different results. I'm sure you've heard the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I know we women of NAWBO Chicago are not insane, right? How many of you believe that we are not insane? Okay, just checking. All right. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity that I have been given to be your president. I am a communications professional, and I appreciate the times that you have talked to me about your hopes and your aspirations and your activities and the things that you have appreciated about our organization. I encourage you to check our website and keep looking at the different ways that you can take advantage of the programs that are being provided to you and the programs that are being designed to get you even more involved, to help you be stronger, to help you get where you want to be, to help you, in the Army sense, be all that you can be. And I cannot thank you enough for the support as a board, as corporate partners, as members, as friends, and so on that you have given me over the coming year. If you are proud of me, you should know that I am exceptionally proud of you. I have been humbled by the opportunity to be a leader to you, and I wish you all the best moving forward. Thank you very much.